I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange live on the road in Githunguri. This is a typical smallholder farm. It's actually about half an acre in size. The young farmer who lives here and owns these cows is only 29 years old. We're going to be talking to him shortly. But first, the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, Willy Bett, sits down with me here on the bench to talk about the state of agriculture in the country. We're going to use the hashtag MOO, as in moo. Start tweeting at Koinange Jeff. Jeff Koinange Live begins right now. CS Willy Bett, welcome to the bench in Githunguri.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out to come onto the farm.
Right.
When you look at a typical farm like this, I mean, this is what your government encourages. Zero grazing, using the minimum area,
Right.
but high yield. Is this what you talk about?
This is exactly what we are talking about. Jeff, you know, land is not elastic. Land is, and population is growing. The only way to increase productivity in the existing land is now zero grazing. You maximizing on the unit area. And these are typical case of maximum utilization of your farm.
Yeah.
Imagine Kamau here
Yes.
with 80 cows.
80 cows on half an
on
acre.
half an acre. And milking 1,200 liters per day.
Wow.
An average of 30 liters per cow.
And you know,
Really, do you need to seek any other form of
no,
employment?
no, you don't. And a lot of young people, which is unfortunate, and you know, people have been talking about this for a long time, a lot of young people don't want to get into farming. They think it's a dirty job. They think it's a job for our parents. Yeah, wazee, you know, it's not for young people. This kid is 29.
Imagine what Kamau gets here after getting 30 here doing his job, and after that he will enter into his bajero and go to town. Who will know that he was, but the beautiful thing is the income. At the end of the day, what makes everything make sense is what do you get from it.
Yeah.
And then even what they are calling 30 is really enjoyable when you know this is how my revenues are going to come.
Yes.
It is very enjoyable. And that's why I'm saying aggregate is cool, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so what are you people doing? What's your ministry, your government doing to encourage people? Encourage them, get into farming, young people. There's not everybody's going to be a lawyer or an accountant or an IT expert. You know, what are you doing to encourage people?
As what we are positioning agriculture now as the only way to transform the economies, not only in Africa, but also in Kenya. Most of our people are in the rural areas. Agriculture is an everyday life. What we only need to do is transform agriculture, get more youth into it by employing technology. And by bringing in new methods, new varieties of crops, new genetics when it comes to dairy. For you to get 30 liters per cow, it is not a traditional animal. It has to be an animal with better genetics. It has to be an animal which is fed well. And when we combine all this, we will be making agriculture viable. We will be making agriculture meaningfully contribute to the livelihoods of people. And you will find youth now gravitating towards that area because youth does not want to do something which is rudimentary, does not want to use chamber to go to the farm. And at the end of the day, he is more careful to know what is he getting out of that. With this kind of incomes we are generating now through agriculture, if we can demonstrate to the youth that even with the smallest area, you can generate this much, the youths are very resilient and they are willing to go into agriculture.
Yeah. What about those people who are selling plots of land like this and building high-rise apartments? We see a lot of that, especially in Kiambu County. What do you tell them?
No, it's really unfortunate. It's really it's not only brick and mortar where you can get money. You can get money through agriculture. What we are doing now, even as government, is to review the law. And the Ministry of Lands is actually working very hard to review the land ownership law, so that at least we control the subdivision of land and conversion of arable land into buildings. It could have been led a little bit, but we have to save what we have at the moment.
Yeah.
Because we want to make agriculture the mainstay of our business.
Absolutely. CS, I heard you say the other day that Kenya is food secure.
Yes.
Is it true?
It is secure.
Huh?
You don't find a Kenyan dying because of lack of food. But we need to be very careful to differentiate between food security and food self-sufficiency. Here in Kenya, we may not be having rice, as I said, but we import enough rice because we have the capacity to import and have everybody access that food. But you will realize we are not self-sufficient in rice. So what we are doing, the kind of programs we are running, especially in Mwea and other rice growing areas like Ahero, is to make Kenya self-sufficient in rice. That is where we produce enough for us to eat and even to export. We have some staples like maize, which we are sort of now self-sufficient. But most of our other staples, we access it, but we don't produce enough for ourselves here. But that does not mean we are not food. Look at other countries, Singapore. They import virtually everything. They're food secure. But they're not food self-sufficient because they don't produce it locally. Yes.
When it comes to maize, are you filling the silos, you know, when the harvests come? Are the silos being filled? Is there capacity?
When we talk of silos now, is it the government silos or even the...
Whichever
silo?
Yes.
Yes. In other words, you are telling me what are the quantities of maize are we...
Correct.
Yes. We've been systematically increasing our production of maize from 35 million bags when we introduced the subsidy program. And we saw that the production jump up to over 40 after introducing subsidized fertilizer. Because fertilizer is a major input of our production in Kenya. And the access of it for a long time has been a challenge. And so when we provided access to this input to most Kenyans, especially the vulnerable Kenyans, the small-scale farmer, the production went up. So what is happening now, after 2-3 years ago, of course with climate change and challenges of disease, we faced some challenge. And so it sort of stabilized at 41-42 million bags because you had of MLND,
yes,
and changing weather conditions.
Correct.
Something which now becomes now the challenge to the government and the science and everybody in Kenya to see how we can mitigate these things. But the amount of maize we have is enough for us.
It's enough for now.
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned fertilizer, CS, a moment ago. Fertilizer prices on the open market are something like 3,500 shillings a bag. 3,200, sorry.
Yes.
Per bag.
Per bag.
But the local fertilizer you're talking about, with the subsidies, farmers can get it for 1,700. Is that what you're working on?
1,800.
1,800.
Yes.
Is that what you're working on now?
Yes, it's exactly what
it's on the market.
Yes.
It's available.
But you see, we are now supplying it directly to those people who are targeted, the small-scale farmer and the vulnerable. And you know, this fertilizer subsidy has done us good. The good it has done us is it has managed this fertilizer to be accessed by those vulnerable, the small-scale farmers. But it has now moved downwards the commercial fertilizer. I hope you were in Kenya, Jeff, yes, when the price of one bag of fertilizer was 6,000 Kenya shillings.
I remember.
It then came to 4,500, but as we speak now it's 3,200. Why has it happened? Because of the stabilization as a result of the subsidy which we are providing. But it's also important for Kenyans to know that the fertilizer we are subsidizing is only 25 to 30% of the total requirements. The total requirements of fertilizer in Kenya is around 650,000 metric tons per year. What we can afford to subsidize as we speak now is between 100 and 150. We are trying to push it, but resources, you know, the competing resources. And so, but that 150 to 100,000 to 150 metric tons has done wonders.
And the rest, are you importing most of this, or is it is this fertilizer local?
It is imported. We don't manufacture fertilizer locally because of the raw materials. We don't have them ready. Even what is being done locally is actually blending. And that was one of the objectives of the Jubilee government, to ensure that we produce some fertilizer locally. So what we've done is there are companies now through private sector participation who have come up with blending plants which is going to make our work a little bit easier. You've been hearing complaints by farmers that fertilizer arriving late,
Yes.
the logistics of distribution has been an issue. So we want to sort out those logistics and timings by ensuring that we introduce our farmers more to locally blended fertilizer as opposed to importing.
Right.
Because one, the logistics will be sorted out, the timings will be sorted out, and then it will be specific to our soils. Because what we are encouraging our private sector is the fertilizer they are blending, let it be soil and crop specific, so that we are dealing with the nature of our soils by putting in the right nutrients in it.
Yes. Our perennial cash crops, yes, coffee, tea. What's the state of those cash crops right now? Because it looks like we've taken a big hit. People ripping up their coffee farms for alternatives like real estate, tea prices. We still cannot dictate those kinds of things. What is the state?
For coffee, not so good. Tea, again, not so good, but better. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Jeff, these are crops which was our main foreign exchange earners. Tea is still leading. Coffee actually dropped drastically. And the reason is the world prices. Remember, there used to be a World Coffee Organization which had quotas. When the quota system globally was removed, then liberalization set in. And when it set in, the price of coffee went down. And we felt the effect. People now started earning very low from their coffee. We were not ready. It's like, as a country, we were not ready. Say that mitigation did not come on time. And so it forced farmers now to see less of a value by growing coffee, when if they put up a flat here, they would earn much more. What then happened is we moved away from a serious cash crop, which actually traditionally was a source of livelihood to many people. As we are now, we are doing serious revival of the coffee industry.
Because, yes, when you look at Ethiopia, Ethiopia's overtaken us. Ethiopian coffee is known throughout the world the way Kenya coffee used to be known in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Why have they overtaken us? Why are they better than us in this? Where did we go wrong?
We went wrong in our system. Our cooperative system collapsed because of corporate governance issues. And the coffee industry, where I blame it squarely myself, is our cooperatives, the corporate governance. Even as much as when the prices were rising in the world market, the farmer was not benefiting from that rise because of the chain between the farmer and the final buyer of the product. Many people here in between was benefiting from the farmer's sweat. And that perennially now discouraged the farmer completely. Ethiopia managed to shrink that, something which we are seriously doing now. Though we are facing opposition, but we are not relenting. That one for sure.
Yeah.
We are going head on.
Do you see better days ahead for coffee farmers?
Good. I can assure you.
Yeah.
With the kind of strategies, with the kind of task force which the president put in place, Chef, we are not going back.
So what do you tell coffee farmers out there right now who are watching you, who are saying, you know what, next season, I'm going to rip up my bushes? What do you tell them?
I would, don't touch the coffee, but plant more. We are even organizing to avail more seedlings so that farmers can plant more. The future for coffee is now very bright because with the strategies, with the implementation which we have started doing, there is no reason why the farmer is not going to lap all the way to the bank again. And that is the direction.
Yeah.
And as I told you, we are not looking back as far as that is concerned. Resistance is there, as I say, but we are moving on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same with tea farmers?
Tea farmers, the problem is global prices, Chef, is not determined by us. It is a price mechanism. And this mechanism is that there is volatility. When there is too much supply in the market, the prices go down. When the supply is low, the prices go up. That is economics of price mechanisms. So that is what tea is being subjected to. And most of the teas we are selling in Kenya is the black tea. We are selling tea which is not value added. We are using almost 95% of our teas goes through one outlet, which is the auction. Say that when the weather is good, and we have enough supplies, which is supposed to be good news for the farmer, Now, the bad news then becomes that we have more supply and the price goes down. And again, it depends on the weather globally. In some countries who produces a lot of tea, if the weather there is also so well and then the supply into the market is huge, the prices go up. Go down. What are we doing about it? As we speak now, we are licensing, and I think for the first time, cottage industry operators. If you have your 50 acres of tea, you have no reason why you cannot do specialty value addition there. Get a small machine, put it in your garage, process your tea, and sell it. So we are creating avenues for farmers to value add. Farmers can come together. They can aggregate, get a machine which can process their tea, source for the market. We are creating second windows now, even in coffee, so that a farmer, unlike in the past, you can access market directly in the US in non-traditional markets. You can even access market directly to a supermarket anywhere in the world and produce it on your backyard or in a setup which you have put up with. So we are creating this so that we diversify. We don't only depend on the auction in Mombasa. Say that we also go to orthodox tea. We go to purple tea. In a sense, because they earn more, and in retrospect now, it brings much more to the farmer.
Yes. So yes, you mentioned non-traditional markets a moment ago,
Yeah.
which is good. I mean, we have new markets as China. I know parts of Asia that never used to get our coffee, our tea. Are you doing that? Are you pushing for that?
We are pushing for that. We have government agencies whom we have tasked with that responsibility. We are looking at China. China is the greatest producer of tea, but it consumes the entire thing.
Yes.
But we are looking at those markets now to push our tea. We are looking at markets in Asia and in Arab world. We are also, in the traditional markets, we are looking at them increasing the uptake of our tea. We are discussing with Egypt, we are discussing with Sudan as we speak now to increase the intake of our tea. So the market is opening up. There are other markets also like Iran where we've not done much, but there's a lot of tea consumption there. We are making inroads in that market as well.
Okay, another export, horticulture. How are our flowers doing?
Doing very well. Of course, that is our major, horticulture is actually our bride. Roses. When you talk about rose anywhere in the world, it's a Kenyan rose. If it's not a Kenyan rose, then it's not a rose. Because traditionally we have supplied roses to Europe. Amsterdam, of course, being the biggest market of this product. And the investments of horticultural industry in Kenya has always been increasing. Less for only now the market forces which competition now is speaking so well. And what we need to do is to up our game in terms of surveillance of the standards required for, because when competition goes up, quality as well goes up. So the quality requirements now is rising, and what we are doing is upping our game to ensure that what we are sending out of Kenya is actually meeting the quality. And in this space, we are looking at the application of chemicals, insecticides and everything else in the fields. So we are controlling that more. We are using our institution, KEFIS, to ensure that we retain the minimum residue levels to very low, so that we maintain our market.
What about looking for new markets? Yes, because I understand, okay, Amsterdam is the main place where all our flowers go, but what about other African routes, outlets? I mean, the case in point is, I lived in Nigeria for 5 years.
Yes.
Nigerians used to import flowers, roses, from Amsterdam.
Right.
Which were probably Kenyan
roses, definitely.
In Amsterdam,
yes,
to Nigeria.
Yes.
So why not cut that middleman and just...
Good question. As we speak now, not only in roses, in the Africa trade is been a major challenge. The kind of trade we are doing within ourselves in Africa is around 5% of the entire trade we are doing with the rest of the world. And so the African leadership now is come to that realization, and it is being driven from AU level, that trade within Africa has to grow. And bilateral relations between Kenya and Nigeria is really working so well. And we are looking at now in the trade between us and Nigeria, so more specifically in the area of milk and in the area of tea, and now in the area of horticulture. Say that we go directly. Communication also has been an issue. You see the alignment, how the movement, the airlines and what have you is also an issue.
Yes.
And so it is a multi-sectoral approach. We also need the private sector to see opportunities and create channels, infrastructural channels where this trade can also flow. Yes.
So yes, do you see the day when Kenya will be proud again to be the largest coffee producer, the largest tea producer, and even flowers, you know, up there with the best of the best? Do you see that day coming back? Those good days?
With what we are putting in place now, we should hit all the good days. I have no doubt. What we need to do is, as Kenyans, we need to believe in ourselves. And let us not be selfish. That is what I'm saying rightfully. Let us not be selfish. Let us look at the bigger picture. And at the end of the day, let's look at the small farmer. If we develop that attitude as Kenya, then we will reach there. Because a good system, a good approach could be hatched and is supposed to be implemented, and then somebody blocks it.
Yeah.
Our democracy here is too democratic.
There's too much democracy. It's not a good thing. And advice to young farmers like Kamau, like the ones in Kisii, in Eldoret, around the country, even in Kwale and Kilifi.
Yes.
What do you tell them? Those who want to get into this business, those who want to do zero grazing, make money, create employment. What do you tell all those young people?
I tell them, come on. Really, this is the enterprise. We have many young people going out there looking for jobs. They don't need to waste all that time. There is money to be made here. Of course, they are facing challenges. It's not a bed of roses. They are facing challenges because there has to be capital. There has to be access to capital, even the land itself, access to credit, and access to information. What we are doing as government is, as we speak now, we have developed a robust youth in agriculture concept, where we want to facilitate youth to access lease of land. We have a lot of idle land in this country. We want you to access this land through lease system. We want you to access credit without using collateral, because that blocks them out, without using collateral. We want to teach banks, and we have a strategy now, and even Kenya School of Monetary Studies we have worked together to build a curriculum. We want to teach banks that they only don't need to have collateral to extend credit, especially in the agricultural sector. How to appraise a proposal in the agricultural sector is not the same way you would appraise in a manufacturing environment. It is a whole different ballgame. So we want youth to access credit by the credibility of the business enterprise, the agricultural enterprise they are going to undertake. And we want even the credit, the banks who are extending this credit, to build a system where they are working with the farmers, they are working with these young farmers. Because the only way to ensure that enterprise is generating is don't give them money for the entire enterprise. Give them money to do that particular activity now, to do the plowing. When it comes to planting, give them money to do the planting. When it comes to, yes, work with them all through. And at the end of the day, your money will come in and the young farmer will flourish.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win situation.
Yes, I see you don't fear these cows at all. You know, they're coming very close. And
Oh, no,
do you enjoy being in
it's therapeutic.
CS, I know you're busy at meeting after meeting, but thank you so much for your time.
All the time.
All the time.
I can't be busy for this.
For this. It's
Yes.
the future.
It's a future.
Asante sana.
Thank you
Well
very
done.
much. Thank
Well
you.
done. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Chef Koinange live on the road in Githunguri with CS Willy Bett. We're going to take a quick break, come back, take a walk around this literally half an acre farm. We're going to see what zero grazing is all about with a young 29-year-old farmer. You don't want to miss that. And later on, we're going to go walking about a coffee farm. Stay tuned for that. Chef Koinange live on the road in Githunguri takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.